What's up, y'all? It's Rose from Divine 1111 back with another Wisdom Wednesday message, okay? All right, so I wanted to come on here earlier, but I got caught up with a couple of things. It's always the case when I'm trying to do something for y'all, but yeah, I hope y'all had a good day. I hope it was amazing. I hope this message finds you in good spirits. I hope if you're not in good spirits that it helps you. And even if you are, it keeps you in good spirits, okay? Um, let's go ahead and breathe in. Let's go ahead and inhale and exhale. Okay. Um, I went out today. I went outside. I live very close where I am. I live very close to the airport. So they have like a little airport outlook place. It's like a park slash outlook. You can watch the planes take off and land. And it's very relaxing to me for whatever reason. And I knew today was going to be the perfect day to do it because, it wouldn't be as packed, okay? But I went out there earlier today, meditated and, just was out in nature, taking in the sun and everything and asking what today topic will be. And I heard shame and freedom, okay? Last Wednesday, I pulled a couple of cards, okay? This time, I don't know if I will. I'm just going to go with it, okay? So follow me. So first, we're going to tackle shame. I feel like whoever I'm talking to, you've been feeling or you've had a lot of like shameful experiences. What do I mean by that? I mean, like, you experienced a lot of shame by people that you love, people that were very close to you, people that you gotten involved with, and even people that you don't even know. And you're going through a transformation. It's like a period of reflection right now where you're looking at like the things that you've been through and you're healing from it. And in that healing process, you're reflecting back on what happened in those experiences, why you felt so much shame, and how you overcame it. Some of you haven't come to the point where you've overcome it yet. You're still like really insecure, still trying to find your place, find out who you are in this life, in this world, where you fit in, why certain people acted a certain way towards you, and why it affected you so much. And that's understandable. That's what everybody at some point, I feel like, comes to, to grips with. They try to figure out who they are at some point, and how they fit in this world. And I'm here to tell you, we have been programmed, honey, to feel like we need to belong in a specific category, in a specific box, okay, that society has placed on us. And I'm here to tell you, I really, in my heart of hearts, don't feel like that we were ever meant to all be the same. Do we have similarities? Do we go through similar experiences? Yes, we do. But again, I feel like it's that box that everybody's been put in for years on end. We're made to believe that, okay, if you don't dress this way, if you don't talk this way, if you don't look this way, you know, People gonna look at you funny. People gonna talk about you. You're gonna be strange, okay? Now, I commend those who's always been like the outcast, who's always been different. You know what I mean? That is so brave to be like that from jump, from a kid on up. But whoever I'm talking to, I feel like you haven't been that person all your life. You've been trying to be a part of a crowd, or trying to be a certain way to please others, whether it's your family, your friends, your lovers, whoever. And somewhere along the way, you lost yourself. And so now you're going through a period where you're feeling like, well, who am I really? That's what you're saying to yourself. Well, who am I? What do I like? What makes me happy? What am I passionate about? What do I want to do for a living? Is this where I'm supposed to be in life? It's like a whole bunch of questions are going on in your mind. And the divine told me to kind of like share a little bit of like my experiences. I'm not gonna name names. But it came to me because I feel I've been there. I've been in your shoes, where you grew up a certain way. um I one side of my family was like Jehovah Witness, the other side is like Baptist. So it's kind of like a religious difference right there, you know what I mean? Because Jehovah Witnesses, they don't celebrate holidays, they don't celebrate birthdays either. They were very like conservative, like very like what am I trying to say? They were very I don't know, kind of reserved, I should say. I don't think that's the right word, but they're kind of reserved, okay? Other side of the family, Baptist family, they were religious to a certain extent, but they were kind of like lax. But at the same time, they tried to keep up appearances. Like, again, instilled in me like you had to look a certain way, you had to act a certain way. Like, I just feel like at a point, especially in my childhood, I felt like it was like I was a quiet child. I was very reserved. I still am to a point. But it was like, at a point I was afraid to speak up. I didn't want to be seen as a certain way. I didn't want to be out of line, or I was kind of confused as to, what religion to practice, or what was real. You know what I mean? Even with friends, I would come across different people, different friends. And while I've made very good friends over time, I think, but there was also like other people I would come across that I noticed would just you know be mean for no reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, just out the blue. And it took me a while, like, even going through all of that. Like, I'm not saying that my childhood was hell or anything like that, but there was some experiences that I look back on, and I'm like, you know, I wish, when I talk to my old inner child, I wish that I was able to express myself, able to dream, okay? Because it would be like, and I hope I'm making sense. I'm just trying to make y'all understand, or help you understand, that y'all are not the only ones to experience that type of shame, you know. But even like, I felt like growing up, if I wanted to be anything like outside of, you know, going to get a degree and being like in the corporate world or whatever, like doing a regular 9 to 5, it was kind of like frowned upon. I wanted to do a lot of things as a child. And, even though at the time, we didn't have resources to do a lot of the things that I wanted to do, even if we did, it would, it was always like an issue, like somebody trying to stop me from having those dreams. Like it would be like, no, you can't do that. You're not gonna like that. Like people telling me what I was supposed to like, what I was supposed to be in life, what I was supposed to do, or how I was supposed to feel. It was a lot of that. And so, looking back at that, and I'm like, I wish to God that I could like sit my inner child down, like sit little Rose down and just like give her the biggest hug and be like, baby, you can be whatever you want to be, whoever you want to be, do whatever you want to do, dream big, don't limit yourself, do not doubt yourself. Because them, and while it was probably coming from a loving place, because I feel like a lot of that pushback was generational. I feel like it was, passed down from generation to generation. Like, people would, I guess, my parents did that, and then their parents, probably did the same thing to them. Like, try to bring them back down to reality, when I feel like, especially knowing what I know now in this world, like, there's no ceiling. There really is no ceiling to what anybody can do. Is when we put those self-imposed restrictions and limitations and fear in our heart. That's where that ceiling comes from. And you know what? It's an illusion. It's a complete illusion. It's not real. Okay? Fear's an illusion, doubt, anything negative, like complete illusion. If you set your mind and intentions on something that you want, if you look back at it, and I feel like this is like for a lot of y'all, if you look back at something that you really wanted in life, or that you really wanted to do, you know, something that you kept saying over and over again, I guarantee you, y'all have already gotten that or done it. It could have been something really small. Like, just think back and you'll be like, you know what? You damn right, Rose. You damn right. I really wanted that car. I really wanted that job. Or, I really wanted to ace that test, or whatever it was. And it happened. And it's something that, unless you're like aware of it, you don't really realize that, damn, I really did manifest it. I really did make that happen for myself. And another thing is like a lot of those things, you probably didn't voice your intentions, or your wants to other people. Like, so people didn't have the chance to doubt you, to put that fear in your mind and in your heart. And so that was part of the reason why it was a success. So if you're like an avid watcher of my readings, I pick up on a lot of people that have like a fear, of like loving themselves, or being alone, or they confide in people. Y'all have a lot of like negative energies, which is everyone really. But there's a lot of like negative people around you, negative energy around you, that you're not really aware of. And so when you know when you get clarity on who these people are, you're so hurt, and it puts you in a state of like, well, I don't want to be alone. This is a lot to do with like people in like relationships too. It could be anybody in your life, but it's like people in relationship is like, dang, like, I put so much energy into this person, and I feel like I'm going off on a tangent, but follow me, okay? You put a lot of energy into a situation, or you're close to a certain individual, and then when you find out, like, dang, like, they were really just wishing on my downfall, or they were really just holding me back from, you know, my abundance, or this new beginning, this new life, this better life, this happiness, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, and a lot of times I give the advice to just keep stuff to yourself. Do stuff on the low. Okay, if you want to like build a business, if you want to go out for a new position or whatever, like, just try to keep it on the low until it's confirmed that the business is jumping off, that you have this job, that you have this money, that you reach that goal. Because I feel like, unbeknownst, like it don't even have to be on purpose that people like put fear or doubt in your heart when you do stuff, certain things, try to do new things and open up yourself to, other experiences that other people kind of like, side eye, whatever. They may just, really have your best interests at heart, but at the same time, they're not you and you're not them. Nobody's like the other. Nobody will have the same, or should have the same experiences, or even if you do have the same experience, you could feel completely different about that experience. Everybody has their own feelings, their own thoughts, their own mind when it comes to certain things. So, I feel like if you ever come across someone that, tries to hold you back from pursuing anything, or make you feel shameful for feeling a certain way, acting a certain way, dressing a certain way, looking a certain way, that's only their fears and doubts being projected onto you. And that should not affect you. It shouldn't affect you, and it shouldn't stop you from doing what you want to do and being who you want to be. And that there, my dear, is freedom. That's how you know that you're truly free. Y'all, I didn't rehearse this. I'm really just speaking off the dome, and that just flowed right into that second word, freedom. Okay? And not to say that, once you go through this transformation, once you're like really tapped in and you're, aware, and you get to recognize, like, certain things, certain energies and people, what it is that you really want to do and want to be, not to say that you won't dip back into that, but it's all about being aware. Okay? Not caring what people think, not letting what people say stop you, and also being aware of when you start to dip back into doing that. I had to catch myself today. I had to catch myself, check myself before I wrecked myself, because, and this is just a common thing. When I was out at the airport Outlook, it was a few people out there. The parking lot was mostly empty though. And like, one of my pet peeves, y'all, one of my pet peeves is when even when you're like in a waiting room and there's like a million empty chairs or a million empty parking spots, and then there's somebody that wants to park right beside you that wants to plant their ass right next to you, and it's like, but you didn't see them 20 other spots open. You didn't see all that space over there. You wanted to come all the way down here to where I was at. Like, And y'all, it bothered me so much. And like, I don't even know if this has anything to do with like it ain't even connected to the shame part, but it's the fact that somebody else is like they minding their business. I don't know them from Adam or Eve or whatever, but and they may not even have thought about it, like, oh, I'm gonna park right here beside Rose. I'm gonna park right here. Like, that's probably more than likely not even in their mind, but it bothered me so much, and I had to take a step back and be like, well, why am I so bothered by it? Why do I care if this person is right beside me and there's like 30 spaces open? Why do I care? Why do I let that one action take me to a place of anger, of some type of low frequency, low vibration? Like, it's just certain things you just have to take a step back and figure out, like, why do I let it affect me? And this is like, even when people like try to put you down or shame you, or treat you a certain way, or think that you should act a certain way, that's their problem. you know you shouldn't let stuff like that affect you. You shouldn't let small things, like somebody sitting beside you, affect you at all. I feel like that's another way of knowing that you're truly free. When you really, really, really don't give a F about what people are doing around you, you're in your space, you're calm, you're serene. Because before that person got there, I was like, meditating. I was getting all these downloads. I was in the sun and everything. And as soon as I like opened my eyes for a second, and I realized, like, out of all the spaces, like, it just took me out of that peace that I was feeling. And I had to check myself. I had to be like, yo, like, why you let that bother you, take you out of this peaceful state? It shouldn't have. You know what I'm saying? So think about that, okay? Reflect on, the past, okay? Take what you learned from it, apply it to your daily life, okay? And not only not let it affect you, if I said that correctly. Not only should you not let it affect you, okay, thank you, Spirit, but check yourself as well. Make sure you're not acting that way towards other people, okay? I hope this made sense. I'm very, very, like, happy to have done this, to start this. I feel like it's gonna help whoever needs to help, okay? Even if it's just 5 of y'all watching it, I know I've done my part, okay? I love y'all, okay? Let me know in the comments, how you like this, or if this resonated with y'all, or just say, hey, I'm down with that as well. And yeah, I'll see y'all on Friday for the weekend read. All right, bye-bye.